If you're a broke teenager, keep on watching. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video we are going to be talking about, you guessed it, financial advice for teenagers. And this is kind of like a big topic and kind of one that I don't know if I'm comfortable talking about because I'm 18 and I still got a lot to learn, but because I'm 18 and I only have 1 year and 3 months before I enter my 20s, I have also learned a lot as an 18-year-old because you're at that age where you just got out of high school and you're in college and all of that. So it's like I was still technically a baby because I was in, high school and they treat you like a child. But, that age 18 where it's like you're now an adult and whatever you do, you will be tried as an adult. So it just, it doesn't really make sense, but I've also learned a lot. So I want to import my knowledge towards you guys so that, maybe you guys will find this video super duper helpful because this is all the stuff that I wish, I would have told myself, my 16-year-old self, stuff that about finance, essentially. Because 16-year-old me did not know anything about finance. Sad to say, I did not. So yeah, 16-year-old me would have loved to have this video, and this is the type of video giving to all of you young teenagers out there who, have no idea what to do with money or any type of financial advice. So this is like the very, very, very basics. Anyway, let's continue on because this intro is already super duper long. So let's get started. Number one, get a job. This is so much easier said than done because when I was in high school, I applied to so many different places and I didn't get hired. Yeah, very, very difficult, and I got discouraged and then I just quit applying because I was like, I don't want to get not called ever again. This is just so embarrassing. Yeah, trust me, we've all been there. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you should give up. In fact, if you're a teenager, you need to take advantage of your minor status, okay? Check your state law to see what your your working age is, because I know in my state it's 16, but some other states it's 15, and I know other states have it as low as 14. It just depends. So check your state to see how old you must be in order to work. Mine is 16. So yeah. Wow, I messed up on that number, but check your labor law and then see when you can apply, and then apply to every single job position available. Every single one of them. Doesn't matter if it's a minimum wage job at McDonald's or you are a $15 an hour worker at an office. I don't know. I don't know if there's any $15 an hour office jobs or anything for teenagers. I don't know. But it doesn't matter. You just gotta apply. Okay, guys? Apply. It is so important to apply and land that job. First of all, jobs will provide you with a numerous amount of benefits, okay? And I don't mean the benefits that they provide, it's just the life lessons that they teach you. Or rather, you have to learn from yourself. For example, having a job will teach you, number one, how to manage your time. Boom. You got to learn how to manage your social life, your personal life, your schoolwork, and having a job on top of that. By working, you essentially are telling yourself, listen, I have to get these things done and I'm not going to be able to procrastinate. And, if I procrastinate, this thing will never get done and I won't have enough time to do it. So yeah, by having a job, it allows you to not procrastinate and get your work done because you have to get it done because you have a job, you have a personal life, you have a social life, and you have schoolwork. So yeah, but make sure you don't work over 10 to 15 hours a week because then it'll actually be bad for you to work over that hour limit, because at that point, if you work over what I think they said it was 15 to 20 hours, if you work over that, then you're already sacrificing either your sleep or your social life, mental health, or whatnot. So yeah, make sure that you work, but don't overwork. That's the one thing. Number two, you learn how to interact with one another in a job environment. So having a job, no matter what, will teach you life skills. And one of the biggest ones is the work environment, work culture in the United States. And I have to say this, it doesn't matter what industry you work in, the life lessons that you find, like how to interact and how to work with your coworkers, especially the ones that you don't like, how to deal with bosses who suck or who take advantage of you, you have to learn how to deal with all of that and how you won't get cheated over. And so because of this, you're constantly on that edge and you got to be learning. You got to make sure that you are acting your wage but still not getting fired. Because managers will try and take advantage of you. Coworkers will try to undermine you. And that's just the thing with any industry. So you got to learn how to keep it professional, and how to stick up for yourself. And I really feel like having a job teaches teenagers how to do that for sure. Okay, make sure that you learn how to interact with your coworkers and your bosses, even though you may not like them. If you like them, that's even better. But if you don't like them, having a job will teach you how to do that, especially when you move on to higher paying jobs that, are much stricter or something. But I really feel like, honestly, it doesn't matter what industry that you work in, whether it be hospitality, music industry, medical industry, it's all really the same thing. Keep your customers happy, be efficient, and make money. But you gotta know how to work that system so that you don't get overworked. That's how I see it. That's the main thing, really. Time management and social skills. And the final one is to get a paycheck. I get paid every 2 weeks on a Thursday. I already know it. I get paid bi-weekly, and my next one is coming on March 18th. And by having a job, especially for a teenager, you get a stream of income, and that stream of income could be really helpful. It teaches you what to do with that money, and it also teaches you how to handle that money. For example, you're going to have to learn how to pay your taxes. That's right, your employer may pay 50% of your taxes, but you also got to pay, that 50%. You got to pay that back to the IRS. You know what I'm saying? You got to learn how to do that, get your W-2s, fill out that form. Basically, you're going to be learning a lot of life skills that I feel like should be learned now, like when you're a teenager, than if you're an adult. Because let me tell you something, high schools are not going to teach this to you. If you have a high school that does teach financial literacy and like how to do your taxes and all of that, great, good job. That's wonderful. But I didn't have it, so I couldn't, be doing any of that. Essentially, like I had to learn everything on my own in practically a day because, you have to pay your taxes. You have to pay your taxes. You have to know how the economy works. You got to know all of that. And if the school won't teach you, then you got to learn from your own experience and you got to do your own research. So how I did it was, because I had that job, I got to go pay my taxes. I had to learn everything, and I had to learn how our system worked and what the consequences were if I didn't do all of that. For example, if you don't pay your taxes, the IRS fines you. If you overpay your taxes and you don't tell your IRS and they don't notice, they don't pay you back. If you underpay, like, you don't pay enough for taxes, they fine you. And if you don't pay that, they put you in jail and they hit you with a tax evasion, which, by the way, is a felony. So, boom, now you're a felon. So, yeah, learn how to do all of that so that you don't overpay nor underpay. Because, you don't overpay nor underpay, because let me tell you, both situations suck and you end up losing no matter what. So yeah, by learning all of this really came from having a job, honestly, because I didn't think to learn about it until I had a job. Which also brings me over to my second point, but I want to wrap this thing up. So yeah, get a job as a teenager because you're a minor and you have special privileges and special breaks, lunches, and whatnot. And I'd rather have you take advantage of that now and get some money out of it than to be an adult and then you can't take advantage of anything because now you're an adult and you're supposed to be responsible and all of that. Yeah, it's very scary. You could literally be on your last day at 17 and versus your first day at 18, and that's a totally different treatment. Get your job as a minor because it is much easier as a minor than it is as an adult, and I would know. Number 2, if you can't find a job, that's totally fine. We're, going through some hard times. That is totally, but like I said, that's totally fine. But I do want you to learn about how our economy works and to become financially literate. So number 2, financial literacy. Financial literacy is so important. I really feel like high schools failed us practically because they didn't teach us like how to do our taxes, what to file on them, how the economy really works. And I guess that you can take that in like your AP government class, but it's not as deep in AP Gov, and I know because I took AP Gov, it's not as deep as it is in, let's say an economics class. So by learning like, financial terms such as, for example, money market CD, if you don't know what that is, how are you ever going to get it? How are you ever going to open it? Debt versus savings. Okay, what's the difference? Well, one of them is negative and the other one is positive. Number 3, you can learn how to be fiscal. Do you know what fiscal means? Yeah, this is just financial literacy, and basically it is not taught on purpose because many people, including the government, want to see you fail. And I really don't want that to happen to any of you guys. It's not taught for a reason. Let me be honest. It is not taught for a reason. They teach you chemistry and physics and English literature and all of that, but they will not teach you financial literacy. And that is something that you will need definitely in the future. It's probably like one of the most important classes of all time, right next to government, because you're going to need to know your rights in order to survive. Just like you're going to need to know how to manage your money in order to survive. Like I said in my previous reason, if you overpay the IRS and you don't tell them and they don't notice, they're not returning that money back to you. Like, they're just not. That's not what the IRS does. If you're underpaying, they hit you with a fine. Boom. And that goes for anything else, not just paying your taxes, but anything. So by learning how the system works, by becoming financially literate, by understanding how certain words work and what they actually mean, you are already one step ahead of the game, and you will be less likely to get cheated out in the future. And learn it now while you still have the time. Trust me, it's much easier to learn it when you're a teenager and you're in high school and you have all this time than it is when you're an adult and you actually have, responsibilities, and you have much more responsibilities than you did when you were a teenager in high school. There's two totally different things. So yeah, make sure you learn it now so that it is easier and that it will stick in your head more often, so that when you hit your 20s and you get a full-time job, you will know what's going on and you won't be cheated, practically. Yeah, don't get cheated and learn how to become financially literate. Research as much as you can. There are libraries, there is the internet, there is so much out there that it is impossible to become ignorant, and it is impossible to not understand something. Search it up, look into the books, and see how our entire economy works and what you can do to stay afloat and not get cheated, because it happens to way too many people, way too many. Become financially literate, because it will help you. And let's say you're in your 20s and you want to buy a house and you want to buy it on escrow, but you don't know what escrow means. Well, sorry. These realtors are gonna, they're gonna milk you for every dollar that you earn. Okay, so yeah, make sure you learn to become financially literate. It's very important, and I'm still on this process. I am still learning about how everything works. So don't think that it's going to be like an overnight thing. No. This is like a very good journey. Trust me, a very good journey, and it's a journey that can be started in a library or on your phone, which you are using to watch this video probably. Do become financially literate. Do become financially literate. Number 3, and that is to learn how to budget and save. Budgeting and saving are two totally important things that I feel like many teenagers really don't care about, because they think like, oh, well, I have this money, I'm gonna go and spend it. Yeah, no, that's a terrible idea, actually. I know what you're probably thinking, like, also like, but I do budget. I put like $2 here and $5 there, and I do all of that. No. If you're thinking that you're putting these $2 there and these $5 there, chances are you're probably not. What doesn't get budgeted gets spent. What doesn't get saved gets spent. And if you are budgeting correctly, you should know exactly how much you make, how much you have, and how much you can spend. That's right. Budgeting is so important, and I use a Google spreadsheet. I know you can use like Excel, but Excel is like $9 a month or something. Like, Microsoft is like $9 a month. Google is free. I use Google Spreadsheet to go and track my finances and see how much money I earn and how much money that I need to, save for everything practically. I have different funds, like a vacation fund. I have things that I want to buy fund, and I put my money into there. And by doing that, that's me budgeting and tracking my expenses. Track every single penny that you get. It doesn't matter if it's like 10 cents or 11 cents. It doesn't matter. Track it, okay? Track how much you spend and see how much you need to cut back in order to save for a longer, like a more important thing, basically. By budgeting everything and starting off early, you're gonna get more into the habit of, budgeting and saving, especially when you hit your 20s and you actually have to budget because you have bills, you have rent, you have food, and loans to pay back. Yeah, you're gonna wanna budget now to get into that habit. Also, with the saving thing, learn the difference between a long-term investment versus short-term happiness. Investing doesn't just mean stock market. No. First of all, you can't even invest into the stock market until you hit 18. So I want to say that. Yeah. But investments also just mean something that is going to give you a return. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be stock market. It could be literally like a college education or a trade school certificate. Those things are investments. And having money into an investment account, like not investment account, but into a long-term investment account versus, spending it for short-term happiness is so much more important. So for the savings part, I would say to figure out what it is that is going to be your long-term investment goal. If it's going to college or a trade school, trade schools, yes, they do cost money. I don't know why people say like trade schools don't cost money. They do. They are also expensive. Maybe not as expensive as college, but still quite a bit of dollars coming out, But yeah, trade school or college, then you graduate with a degree and or a certificate, and that helps you in finding a job, So that's an investment because that's helping you find a job so that you can earn money. That is an investment. A car is definitely an investment because it's taking you from point A to point B. A car will last for a while if you take care of it. You're gonna need a car. If you don't live in a city that provides public transportation, chances are you're gonna be using a car, and that car, no matter what, is going to be an investment. Whether or not you purchase a brand new car or a used car, it will still be an investment because you're putting a lot of money in, quite a few thousand, and you're going to get that return of, yeah, I'm using it to get from point A to point B. I'm using it practically every single day. That is definitely an investment, and that is more of a long-term happiness investment. Yes, that's right. Also, I have to say this, side note, if you are a teenager, do not buy a brand new car. In fact, buy a used car if you were thinking of buying a car, and tell your parents to, save for that, like a used car, because, and I have to say this, brand new cars are really expensive. I feel like people really underestimate how expensive a brand new car can be, and the insurance that comes with being a teenager. Teenage insurance, that is through the roof, because most accidents happen between the ages of 16 and 18 because, you're just learning how to drive. And so therefore you're not going to be experienced. Driving comes with experience, and if you're not experienced, you're going to be more likely to be in an accident. So that's why the insurances are so high. Plus, a brand new car is just way too expensive, I think, and the depreciation value is basically absolutely through the rocket, basically. I don't know how to say it without saying through the roof because I just used that one for the insurance, but depreciation values are insane. You could basically own it for like a year and the car will have depreciated for 50%. So yeah. If you're a teenager, get a used car, and you want a car, get a used car, because not only is your insurance going to be cheaper, yes, cheaper, used cars get cheaper insurance, yes, absolutely, but the depreciation value has also gone away, and so you're really getting that car's money worth. And it's not a brand new car, so if you do crash it, let's say you were careless or you made an accident and you were careless, it won't be as detrimental as if it was like a new car. And I do have to say something about accidents. Try not to get into them because then your insurance is really going to go through the roof. Yeah. And a new car with an accident, I can't even imagine. I can't imagine. So when you're a teenager, use your parents' car, or if your parents are going to buy you a car, or if you're going to buy a car, buy a used car, much cheaper overall. Will still get you from point A to point B. Just do your research on what type of car that you want to get, that you think is going to get you the most bang for your buck. That's something. But yeah, anyway, college education, trade school education, cars, long-term investments, you're going to end up using them. And that is so much better than a short-term happiness purchase. I'd rather have you purchase something that is going to be, reinvested back into you rather than something that's going to give you that instant gratification after purchasing it, because that instant gratification is going to wear off and then you're going to realize I just wasted money for nothing. Yeah, duh. So yeah, make sure that you learn the difference between the two and that you put money towards a long-term investment fund. It could be for education, could be for a car, it could be for an emergency fund. I really highly suggest creating an emergency fund. It could be for anything, as long as you know it's going to get reinvested back into you. That's all I got to say. And that also brings me over to my point 4. My fourth advice is to not buy into peer pressure. And this is something that I think many teenagers kind of suffer with. So many teens, will purchase certain things, because it's in the trend, it's cool, it's like the newest, hottest thing. For example, the iPhone 12 or, Air Force Ones. But iPhone 12s are like way more expensive than shoes. So I can't even say they're like different things, because they totally are. They're like the same thing because they're totally different. But don't buy into peer pressure, okay? This is something that I have to say to many different teenagers. Do not buy into pressure. Do not buy something because it's just cool. Buy something that you like. If you do want to buy something material, make sure you buy it and that you actually enjoy it. Don't buy it just because your friends have it or that it's the coolest thing that anybody's wearing or using. Don't, because chances are you're probably not going to like it. If it's not something that you would purchase on your own money, just don't, okay? It's really not worth it, okay? And I would know because I used to purchase things, and there was this one thing that I purchased that I was like, oh my gosh, like it's so cool, like everyone else has it. And you know what? I realized I am not everyone else. I am me, and that's okay. So don't purchase things because your friends have it or it's cool or something. Do not do that anymore. Like that's just dumb and very financially inconsiderate, and that will be a big wallet drainer, a big savings drainer, whatnot. It will be huge, and chances are you might not even like it in that long run, so I don't really recommend using it. And that's just a fact, period. Okay, that's just a fact, and I can't think of anything else what else to say to that. Don't buy what's trendy. Don't buy things that your peers are wearing or using. Buy something that you like. You're not them, so like don't worry about it. Honestly, like I get it. You really want to blend in and stuff, but if you don't like it, don't buy it. That's straight up money wasted. And coming from me, like I will tell you this as a college student, you do not want to be wasting money. Okay, you do not want to be wasting money. It is not worth it to waste money. Do not ever waste money, okay? Especially on things that you don't like, because I will tell you, from a broke-ass college student, you will regret it in the very end. Put that money into a savings account or buy a knockoff or something. Buy something that you like that looks like that but is way cheaper, because I guarantee you next year that item will be like it won't be in style anymore, and you're gonna have wasted all that money for nothing. So yeah, buy something that you actually like. Just don't buy into the trends that your peers are wearing. Peer pressure is not a fun thing, okay? Money waster and energy drainer, for real. Number 5, and this is going to be the biggest one, and that is distinguish yourself from fantasy self. Oh boy, okay, this is a big one. So be realistic with what you have. It's basically my saying here. And what does that exactly mean? It means don't waste money on your fantasy self and be realistic of who you are. For example, let's say your fantasy self, okay, before we get into that example, I want to give you guys a little definition in case you guys don't know what fantasy self is. But I feel like a lot of people do know what it is because it's talked about like all the time. Fantasy self is basically the best version that you think you can be. Okay, it's not realistic, but maybe it could be. You think it's, you, but it's really not. Okay, for example, fantasy self is a 6 a.m. yogi next to the beach. Okay, or on the beach. Fantasy me is 6 a.m., yoga master on the beach in Florida. Reality? I live in Pennsylvania and I don't even really like yoga. Okay, I'm also not going to wake up at 6 a.m. just to do yoga. I'm going to use that 6 a.m. to go and, sleep because I'm tired. Okay? But fantasy me is like, this is so good though, doing 6 a.m. yoga on a beach. Yeah, I like the idea, but that's just not me in real life. So that's what it is. You might like the idea of something, but realistically that is not you. However, that fantasy self appears and fantasy self is going to try and get as much money as, it possibly can to purchase things that you yourself realistically are not going to use. And I'm not saying fantasy self as like a dissociative identity disorder type of thing. No. This is just the idea that you created in your head that is going to be the best version of yourself as possible without you having even tried it. Like, I already know that I'm not going to wake up at 6 a.m. every day just to do yoga, and I don't live anywhere close to a beach. Okay? So, yeah, that idea, but I would love that idea of me being productive, but that's just not me in real life. Just saying. Another thing, a fantasy me, taking beautiful notes. Yeah, I fell for that so many times and I still fall for that. It's the beautiful notes, having all the pens and notebooks and, markers and, having it be beautiful and all these notes looking gorgeous and so aesthetic looking. You can see them on Instagram and Pinterest. Oh my goodness, I have a page dedicated to them. Oh my goodness, I have 300 pins in my study inspiration. And guess what? I used to think that I could be able to write as beautiful as them and to have these notes. And you know what happened? I realized that I'm not going to waste my time perfecting my handwriting when instead I'm going to spend my time taking the notes efficiently and to the best of my degree so that I can understand them. But you know what? Every single month, I always come with something of like what if you need this notebook? And it's like, no, I don't. Stop. Okay? And that's my fantasy self, okay? My fantasy self has to constantly tell me that like, I'm going to be productive, but I know realistically that's just not going to happen. I'd rather be efficient than aesthetically pleasing or whatnot. So yeah, that was my examples of fantasy self versus reality. Did I get a little bit frustrated? Yeah, because I have spent money on fantasy self. I did. No cap, I definitely did. And I have to say, it is quite disappointing. It is quite disappointing. But that's why I want to tell, me as an 18-year-old, I want to tell me, 16-year-old me to not buy into fantasy self, to not buy into that dream of mine, and to be realistic. I'm not saying dreaming is a bad thing, absolutely not, but you have to be realistic with what makes you work. For example, if you know that something doesn't work, but you like the idea of it, don't even bother spending money on the idea, okay? Just because you like the idea doesn't mean that it's always going to be for you, okay? And that's just that. Like, trust me, I thought I would like the idea of yoga. I thought I would, but when I actually did it, I was like, yeah, this really isn't my style, to be honest. It's very slow, and I'm more of a fast paced kind of person. Like, I just really didn't like it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I did love the idea of doing yoga, and I still love the idea of doing yoga. Don't get me wrong, but I just know that physically, that's just not what I like. That's just not me. So, 18-year-old me is telling 16-year-old me to distinguish fantasy self from reality and to not spend money on fantasy self and to be realistic within her own means. And what that means for all of you teenagers out there is to be realistic with how much money that you are going to be spending on yourself. That does not include your fantasy self. And this will help you throughout your 20s, 30s, and 40s and rest on, because there's so many people out there who invest money and they spend money into their fantasy self and they realize that they don't end up using it. And then they got to have a garage sale to go and sell it because they're not using it. And it's like, you just wasted money here, you didn't have to purchase it. So yeah, fantasy self is a real big thing, and it happens to literally everyone. Like, at some point in your life, you're probably like, yes, I'm gonna buy that because I can really see myself doing it, but realistically, you probably don't have time, or that you actually just don't like it. And there's nothing wrong with that. So by distinguishing what it is that you actually like and that you actually can do within your limits versus your fantasy self, the idea of it is going to be a big, big thing and will save you so much money in the long run. Trust me on that one. I can't imagine the amount of times that I've spent on something to make my notes look beautiful, to make me look like a productive student, when in reality, I just needed to go and take the notes and understand it to my own degree so that I can understand it. It doesn't matter how good it looks as long as I'm getting it, essentially. Distinguish yourself between you versus fantasy self, and trust me, in your teen years, you will be saving a lot of money, okay? A lot of money. Fantasy self could also mean the wardrobe things that you see on YouTube, where people are doing like these like glow ups, they're getting these like new outfits and stuff because they think, this is gonna look good, it's a new trend. But maybe when you put those outfits on, you realize that's not what you want. That's not, this doesn't look as good. Maybe, who knows? But you really didn't give it a thought because fantasy self was like, yeah, I'm gonna go buy them and I'm gonna look good in them. But then when you get them, it's just, you don't like it. Yeah, that's what fantasy self really is and versus reality. So learn to distinguish between fantasy self and reality, and you are golden. You will be saving a lot of money in the future. And that is my biggest thing that I would give to 16-year-old me. And that's the biggest advice that I'm gonna give to you guys, you teenagers out there, because trust me, I think as teenagers, we've all spent some sort of money on our fantasy self and you realize that it was not worth it. Yeah. Do make sure that you are being realistic with your means and what you want in life, because the moment you spend it, unless you return it or sell it, that money's gone and you're left with something that you don't even use, and that's money wasted. That's all I have. That was more of a rant, but I just had to say it. Anyway, that's all that I have for this video, and thank you so much for watching this vid, and it would mean so much to the world to me if you guys could subscribe and give this video a like. Also, if you're wondering about the background, I am working, like I'm cleaning up everything, and I also have a lot of exams for colleges. Like I have my final one for the midterm week on Friday, so next Friday. So I have that one, and I wanted to get a video in before like all of that comes in and I can't do any YouTube videos anymore until that exam is over, because I'm not doing too hot in that class. So yeah, I gotta go pick it up. Anyway, yeah, and everything in my room is like really messy right now because I'm cleaning it and I'm reorganizing so much. So I have like a bunch of things on the racks because I want to clean everything and redo it. Not sure how, but I want to get rid of some things and move some things toward the other room. So yeah. Anyway, that was a long enough video. I am so sorry that this took like, what, 35 freaking minutes? Yeah, but that was just a lot. This was more of a rant, if anything. But this is stuff that I literally would have told 16-year-old me what to do. Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys are staying safe, and make sure you guys are, staying inside, wearing your mask, staying safe, because I want to travel, and I want to travel when it's safe again, okay? That's all I gotta say. Okay, I want to be out. I cannot do this anymore. Anyway, have a great day, and I will see you guys soon. Mwah!